to negotiate with Cabela's for the construction of a new Cabela's store in the city limits of Oklahoma City. The store will be about between 90 and 98,000 square feet. It will be what they call their next generation store. They anticipate that their annual sales will be somewhere between $40 and $50 million a year. This item or this issue fits within the city's retail incentive policy that is administered by the Economic Development Trust and the City Council. Because Cabela's will be a regional, new-to-market destination retailer. During our discussions with them, they've told us that their trade area is about 120 minutes, or in Oklahoma City, that's usually about 120 miles. So a very broad trade area that will attract business from outside the city limits into Oklahoma City. Some of the other things that are important to remember is that the city's budget is largely supported by sales tax revenues. So we believe that this is an important endeavor to expand the city's tax base and to take advantage of those new revenues for Oklahoma City. Sporting goods sales in the city limits are about $100 million a year, so the general fund portion of that would be about $2 million. And it's important for us to capitalize on this opportunity. Although there will be some cannibalization from those other sporting goods stores, we believe that we can negotiate an incentive package with them that allows us to still take advantage of the increased growth in our sales tax base and not eat into the cannibalization very much. So a lot of that's because we're typically very conservative in the amount of incentives that we provide retailers, as we have in the past with Von Maur and Bass Pro Shops. So.
I think it's important, Kathy, to point out two things. One is that this is contingent upon them locating within the Oklahoma City limits.
Absolutely.
And secondly, it is a performance-based agreement.
That's right. And well, once we negotiate an agreement with them, as with all of our agreements, it would be performance-based. It would be provided to them after the fact, after they've proven to us what their sales have been for the year. And like Von Maur, we imagine that it'll be based upon some percentage of their sales. So we would base it on, for example, 1.2% of their annual sales. And that amount would be provided to them over some period of time.
And are there any questions or comments?
Actually, a couple of questions. Next generation store, what does that equate to in terms of square footage to the original concept? And then second question, it said city will receive related internet and catalog sales from local residents, which will result in new sales tax. Would you mind adding to that?
I'm not entirely clear what a next generation store is. What they've told us is that it's 98,000 square feet, so about the same size as Bass Pro Shops. I'm sure everybody is familiar with Cabela's. They have larger stores in other markets, and I think they have smaller stores in other markets. So it's still a very significant size store. Probably will cost about $10 million to build. On the internet sales, once a company is established a location within the state of Oklahoma, they're required to charge sales taxes on all their internet sales. So this is important that we will begin to get all the sales tax revenues from their internet sales to Oklahoma City residents as well, which we're not getting right now. So that's definitely new revenues for us.
Are there any additional questions or comments?
Just to clarify, this item does come back,
yes,
assuming there's successful negotiation.
Right.
And Kathy, when do you expect to start negotiations?
As soon as you authorize the general manager to.
That's a good answer. I like that. Chair would entertain a motion to approve allowing the general manager to proceed with the negotiations.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion made and second. Any further discussion? Please cast your votes. And Kathy, you are authorized to begin negotiations.
Will do.
If you have to leave during the course of the meeting, just feel free. Item 4B is the next item on our agenda. This is a resolution having to do with the Park Avenue retail redevelopment area. Are there any questions or comments? Kathy, you want to say anything about this?
Just as a matter of explanation, there was a statement in the request for proposals that was issued for this study that said that the Economic Development Trust would authorize staff to negotiate the contract before we actually entered into it, and we didn't realize that. So it's not a really big deal. I don't think it's a significant or material issue. It was just an oversight. So we're asking to waive that requirement that was in the request for proposals.
Are there any questions about this particular project? I think it's a really exciting project to redo the street like that.
Yes, I do. And Ian Colgan's here from the Planning Department, and the next item is the contract. So if you have any questions about it, I'm sure Ian could talk about it.
We have an expert in the audience.
I'll move item B.
Motion made
Second.
and seconded. Thank you very much. Is there any further discussion or questions? Please cast your votes. And the item is approved. Thank you. Item 4C is a consulting contract to support this particular project.
Right. This is the actual contract with Downtown Works to perform the Park Avenue Retail Enhancement Plan. Again, Ian Colgan with the City Planning Department is here if you want to say a few things about the plan and what we anticipate.
Sure. Well, we had 9 proposals for the project. All were actually really good proposals. We had a hard time sifting through the way we structured the RFP. We got some really good responses, so really targeted that. We ended up shortlisting 2 for an interview. The group that we selected was Downtown Works LLC out of Seattle and Philadelphia. And that's a group, it's basically 2 proprietors that have done retail studies in downtowns all over the country, most notably Austin, Seattle, Milwaukee, and some other places. They also had retail experience themselves in running different businesses in Philadelphia and Seattle and other areas, so that was another exciting component of their expertise that we liked about the group leading the team to really study what the future business mix and opportunity could be on Park Avenue and the Central Business District in general. Their partner was a firm called Kiku Obata out of St. Louis. They're an architecture and design firm, and they're going to be looking at some of the physical components of Park Avenue in terms of the buildings and then the public areas. They have some experience, particularly in St. Louis and Washington Avenue, which is a revitalizing area near downtown in St. Louis, as well as the Del Mar Loop and the other loop in St. Louis near Washington University in terms of understanding the urban environment and how that would support retail and commercial opportunities.
Good. Thank you, Ian. Are there any other questions of Ian while he's here?
Just one other comment that the contract is jointly funded by the city, the Alliance, the Chamber of Commerce, and Downtown Oklahoma City, Inc.
Yes.
So we're all partnering up and teaming together to do this work.
I think it's important we can really leverage our funds that way, what we do.
I'll move the item.
I have a motion and a second.
Second.
Thank you very much. Yeah, are there any further discussion? Please cast your votes. And the item is approved. Next is an item that relates to Project 180. Eric, is there anything you'd like to say about this particular project? Eric's available to answer questions if you have any questions. Are there any questions of Eric? It's a change order and amendment to an existing contract. Chair will entertain a motion to accept it.
Thank you. Sorry. I'll second, but I'd like to ask a question.
Okay. Eric, we have a question up here for you.
Just to give you a chance to explain the incentive days component.
Sure, I'd be happy to. I think, one of the things that we changed in packages 1 through 5, and as we moved into this package 6A, is that we created a series of milestones for the contractor. So instead of having a contract have a period of say, a year or more for construction, they're actually working on shorter time frames of just a couple of months to finish, say, particular intersections or stretches of roadway. And with that, this contractor has actually early completed a couple of those early milestones. So the incentive is $1,000 a day for early completion. Now, there is a maximum that they can achieve. It's not an unlimited amount, but it applies itself to each milestone. So instead of just having a charged for late completions. This early completion has really enticed this contractor to get ahead, and so that's actually occurred on 6A already.
Then a word of compliment, obviously this is great progress, but it can be so disruptive to existing businesses, so I appreciate that component is in these contracts to move them along.
Absolutely.
We have a motion made and seconded, I think. Is there any further discussion? If not, please cast your ballots. And the votes, it is approved. Thank you very much. Item 4E is a consent and acknowledgement of an assignment of development incentive and development agreement between 100 Main LLC and Oklahoma Limited Liability Company, Bank SMB National Association regarding the Century Center mixed-use project located at 100 West Main. Kathy? Okay.
This is two agreements that was requested by the bank that's loaning money to the Century Center 100 Main LLC that's doing the development over there. And one is, if for some reason Century Center wasn't able to complete the project, the bank could step in through the collateral assignment of the agreement and finish it. And the other is an assignment of the incentive that we're giving to them, that as long as there's an outstanding note owed by 100 Main Place, that we would give them, the bank, the incentive first before we give it to 100 LLC.
But there's no direct financial obligation towards the banks?
No. No, it's just an assignment. And 100 Main saying, don't give us the money, give it to the bank. And we're acknowledging that.
Any further questions or comments?
Move approval.
A motion made and seconded to approve item 4E. Is there any further discussion or questions? Please cast your votes. And the item is approved. Thank you very much. Item 4F is another joint economic development agreement with the City of Oklahoma City and 4th Street Properties, LLC to provide assistance in development financing for the 4th Street Apartment Residential Project Phase 2 in the vicinity of a tract of land bounded by Northeast 4th, Northeast 3rd, and lying between North Oklahoma to the west and North Walnut Avenue to the east, not to exceed $1 million in TIF expenses. Kathy?
This is Phase 2 of the Maywood Apartments that are along Northeast 3rd and 4th at Oklahoma and Walnut. The first phase has been completed. The second phase will begin construction. It will be about 160 units. The first phase was 139 units. This is the economic development agreement with that developer to continue with the second phase of that project.
Are there any questions or comments? Shall we entertain a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
A motion made and seconded to approve. Is there any further discussion? If not, please cast your votes. And it is approved. Thank you very much. Next item on our agenda is we're going to have a proposed fiscal budget for the Oklahoma City Economic Development Trust. We have some slides, and we have a presentation by our financial wizard.
Good afternoon. Today I want to just give you a brief overview of the proposed FY 14-15 Oklahoma City Economic Development Trust budget. The proposed budget for 14-15 is estimated at $146.8 million, with a little over $98 million of that coming from TIF, an additional $45 million coming from our strategic investment program, and then another $3.7 million in just general economic development program. And in that program, I'll just remind you that portion of our budget relies on a transfer from the city's general fund to make those things happen. The budget does contemplate TIF District Number 2, which is the downtown TIF district, borrowing an additional $10 million. And actually, we've already authorized the authorization, but we don't expect to draw that down until the next fiscal year. It does contemplate an additional gold bond issue that will take place in the next 90 days. And then it also includes funding for the chamber contract, the Alliance contract, the Myriad Gardens Foundation operating subsidy, the outlet mall marketing reimbursement, and then staff reimbursements to the general fund. If you'll recall, myself along with Wiley, our a majority of our salaries are paid from these associated funds. They're allocated and paid back to the general fund as we're paid out of the general fund. You can go to the next slide. TIF District number 2, which is the downtown TIF District, has a budget of $24.5 million. To date, we have about 15 projects that are under design or under construction. It's a very active TIF district, and there's just a list of all of them. And we anticipate paying about $4.1 million in our debt service or our outstanding debt that we have in the next year. That's a fixed amount. So, and then I won't go through the list, but there's a significant amount of projects going on in there. In addition, from a revenue standpoint, we anticipate bringing in about $6 million of ad valorem TIF receipts for the year. In addition, we anticipate getting the $350,000 from the general fund, which is the general fund portion of sales tax derived from the Skirvin Hotel, and then the state will match that. And then we also, as I mentioned, the short-term line of credit, we plan on drawing on that in the next fiscal year. TIF District number 4 just recently finished a project down on the river and down around Meridian Landing, and we do not have any other projects right now on board. So this next year, the goal is to basically receive the funds and try to pay down debt in that TIF district. But we'll also receive sales tax from Dell computers from their. It's a formula based on the number of employees they have and their average salaries and stuff like that. And again, the state will match those funds also. Go ahead. TIF District number 8, $63.8 million of the budget will come from that. And it will fund portions of 6B and 7 that are out, as we discussed earlier. 7 is out for bid right now. Includes a pedestrian corridor, the Oklahoma County Annex, finishing up that project, the Oklahoma County Jail, and then with the OPUBCO moving down to the Century Center in this next fiscal year, there'll be a payment to them for relocating, so we're anticipating that happening. The ad valorem payment is estimated to be $11.3 million. That's the minimum tax that Devon is required to pay, so we anticipate that happening. From the Strategic Investment Program, it's a $45.1 million budget. We do contemplate an additional $12 million, as I just briefly mentioned, being authorized in the next 60 to 90 days. And then there's a list here of job creation payments, anywhere from AAA to General Electric to Grocery Supply to United Engines to Paycom and Continental. So those are just a few of them. And then there's some pending projects that we're still working on that we anticipate some funding will occur in this next fiscal year. And then also it includes a portion of the contracts for the Alliance and the Chamber of Commerce. Then finally, the General Economic Development. That funds the Chamber's contract, which we pay quarterly. It funds the Alliance contract, portion of the Alliance contract that is paid out on a monthly basis. And then we have the Myriad Gardens Foundation. I wanted to point out to you on the Myriad Gardens Foundation, this year we'll be funding 50% of the overall operations. When we initially when the Myriad Gardens Foundation was created, the goal was to be at 67%, 33%. That was our goal by this fiscal year. And they've made great strides, but we haven't been able to get to that point, but we're still trying to pursue that and push them to that level. But this year it'll be a 50%. We provide a monthly subsidy along with, and something that's new this year, all of the utilities are paid by us, and then they reimburse us for certain aspects of the utilities that are associated with their lease properties, for example, the restaurants and stuff like that. And then also we have the outlet shops. Again, we have the regional marketing expenses there. That will be in our 5th fiscal year. Again, all of these funds are relying upon the general fund to get these to have the funding mechanism to fund them. And with that, in summary, it's a $146.8 million budget. It funds our base services and our contracts. It does have some new debt for the Strategic Investment Program. The plan is to bring this back for your consideration on June 17th, and then it will subsequently go to the City Council on July 1st for their receipt. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Are there questions? Questions?
Because just an observation, it's quite an increase over the past years. You're seeing some nice maturation in your fund balance and stuff. Any comment, Brent, in general about it?
No, I think there's just some anticipated projects in one particular area that we anticipate coming to fruition in the next 120 days. That will have this. That's kind of the driver. That's a significant impact in our budget.
And Brent, you went through the TIF 2 and 3 pretty quickly, and you didn't point out some of the projects, but if you look at that list of projects, and there are some real game changers for the downtown development. Century Center is one, I think, outstanding development. We're going to bring a newspaper back downtown and open up that building like it's never been opened up before. The 21C Hotel is going to take our downtown in a whole different direction, moving west in an area that's been underdeveloped for a long time. So I think this is really an important document, and I want to congratulate you very much. Thank you very much for the work you've done on it. And Wiley also, I'll congratulate him. Don't really mean it, he's a lawyer, so. Are there any questions or comments about the budget? Do we need some action?
Yes, we need to receive.
We receive the budget.
Second.
A motion made and seconded to receive the budget. Any further discussion or questions? Please cast your votes, and the budget is approved. Thank you very much, or received, I guess. Next, the General Manager's reports, and this has been distributed to all of you previously. Are there any comments or questions on the General Manager's reports?
The only thing that I would say is that we have several companies that are, really showing job creation growth and are meeting their benchmarks and goals for job creation. Paycom is one of those. The grocery supply project that's on the 5th page of the General Manager's report has actually almost met its entire 150 job goal that we had in our agreement with them. So we are seeing quite a bit of performance in the last quarter from these companies creating new jobs in Oklahoma City.
Short summation of that is it's working.
It's working.
Yeah, Larry.
Kathy, question. How are we doing on Terex? And is the name change on Airink any concern to us?
I think Terex is going fine. I haven't heard anything. Kurt, do you know anything about?
We have not, and I'll check with our expansion and retention team just to make sure, because they're on top of it. But they have a product line that has a different name, and Terex is only one of their component names. So from that standpoint, from a governance or continuity standpoint, if they choose to do that, that shouldn't affect anything from our standpoint with agreements or growth here in Oklahoma City. So we'll double check, and if there is an issue, we'll get back with you.
The other question was about the name change at Airink.
I'm sorry. I thought you said, because Terex has a product called a Genie, which is one of those lift things, and they use that name sometimes. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. With Airink, they are selling. They've been on the market. They are being sold. They are a very profitable and going business, and whoever is acquiring it, which in that process. Gary, have we heard anything more on that? Our aviation person happens to be in the room, but we expect that to actually thrive, not contract as part of that transaction.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any comments from the trustees?
Just one, if you would, point of privilege. I have a few guests here today, and I just wanted to take a moment to extend an introduction for them. On behalf of Oklahoma City University School of Law, my law firm, Phillips Murrow, is partnering with other law firms and helping host some exchange lawyers, not students, but full-grown lawyers, visiting from Shenzhen City, near Hong Kong, a city of about 10 million people in China, and we're thankful that they're here, Regina, Ivy, and Ming. So welcome.
And we're glad you could be here. We hope you come away with a good impression of what we do up here. We have been successful despite some of the comments I've made. Any comments from the staff? Comments from the public? No. I'm not sure you fit in any of those categories, Kurt.
I'm neither. I'm fish nor fowl. I wanted to introduce Tammy Fate, who I mentioned to you at the last time but had not physically gotten here yet. Tammy Fate is our new retail development manager, joined us from the city of Tulsa, and within 2 weeks we sent her on the road evangelizing for Oklahoma City. So she's already been to ICSC with Kathy and the mayor and all, and she's on board, and I wanted you just to meet her, and she can stay after and greet you if you have any questions for her. So
Thank you, Kurt.
we're back to full strength.
Well, welcome, Tammy. We'll look forward to lots of retail contracts. Any comments from the public, other than Kurt, which he doesn't really qualify in any of those categories? If seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.